Risks of mutual funds. All investments carry a level of risk, and mutual funds are no exception. In this section, we'll go over the general risks involved with each of the mutual fund types we've discussed. And then keep in mind that one risk that impacts all funds is market risk. Market risk is how the volatility of the markets impacts the value of the fund's underlying holdings. This in turn affects the share price of the fund. And then ranking the funds from highest risk to lowest risk, you'll see that sector funds are the riskiest, with then stock funds, blended funds, and bond funds following, and the money market fund is the lowest risk of investment types that are offered by our clients. Sector funds are considered the riskiest investment due to its non-diversification in holdings and its focus in one specific industry. Let's test your knowledge. Explain why sector funds are considered high-risk investments. Stock funds. Stock mutual funds are the second riskiest type of investment. Risk is generally determined by the size of the company being invested in, also known as its market cap. Risk and company size. As you can see, mutual funds that invest in smaller companies or small cap have the most risk. Those that invest in mid cap or mid-sized companies have moderate risk. And then those mutual funds that invest in large cap or large companies have the lowest amount of risk. One exception to this rule are international stock funds. International stock funds are considered the riskiest of stock funds due to additional risks, such as currency risk and geopolitical risk. Here's a bar graph summarizing the risk of stock funds, with the international fund being the riskiest, and then large caps having the lowest amount of risk of stock fund types. All right, let's test your knowledge. Explain how stock fund risk is determined. Now let's discuss blended funds. Blended funds are considered medium risk. They're made up of both stocks and bonds, as previously discussed, and it's the percentage of the fund's investment in stocks that determines its overall risk. The higher the stock component of the fund and the less amount of bonds, the more risk the fund is said to have. Conversely, the lower the amount of stocks in the fund and the more bonds the fund has, the less amount of risk the fund has. All right, and to test your knowledge on the risks with blended funds, can you explain what determines blended fund risk? Next, we'll discuss bond funds. Bond funds are considered the second most conservative investment. The two main types of risks associated with bond funds that our clients offer would be, one, interest rate risk. When rates go up and bond prices go down, and then when rates go down, bond prices go up. Two would be credit risk, and that again is just the creditworthiness of the bond issuer and the risk of default if the issuer is unable to repay bonds. In the previous category or section, we discussed that none of our clients offer default or high yield risky bonds. They all fall within credited or government issued bonds. All right, let's test your knowledge. Explain what determines bond fund risk. And the last part of risk would be money markets. And money markets are considered the safest type of investment, and they maintain a dollar per dollar share value. They invest in low risk short-term debt, and it's essentially holding your position or your money within the fund as cash. And to test your knowledge on the risks on money markets, explain why a money market is considered low risk.